Welcome back, oh great painters. Going to do the last little bit on this one. I did make it all the way through on applying the dark gray on there. Now some of the areas that I have left on here are supposed to be white, and some of the areas left on here are supposed to be black on those, so I got to remember which is which to make sure it goes out okay. For this, I'm probably going to be concentrating on probably the smaller brushes on there. I mean, this is a big black area in through here on that, but I think most of the areas we can accomplish with slightly smaller brushes on those. So let's go ahead and hit some of those areas and see if we can't make it work for us with those. So step number one, let's wheel some paints in here. We want to make sure that we have a very thick mixture of black paint. That's the first thing. So I put a few drops of water in there, and now I'm going to mix it up. And I'm just going to mix it around. It's been sitting most of the day, so it's going to be pretty black to begin with, but we want it, I want it when it's there, I want it to be so opaque on that, so it's definitely black with those. And like as always, I'm probably going to start off to the side a little bit and make sure things are the consistency we want them to be for this painting. So I'm going to bring this guy back down here again, because this is a good place to start, because I am right-handed, and as such it makes it a little easier because I can just add the paint right in here. So there's a little bit of a black area right here. I'm doing the wood portion here, so this section over here on that, so it's going to come down here for the wood. Now there's some black on the back of the bird too on that, and that's pretty thick right there. That's pretty good. That's the stuff I was looking for. Okay, so that's kind of there, and then these parts here, I'm just going to kind of take them out with we don't want it to be a straight line by any means, so I want to use the tip of the brush at least kind of going along the same angle as the wood does as we start to fill that area and make those edges kind of rough, and so it's not a smooth edge on that. And it does start to do the trick of what we're looking for. It starts making those pretty details start to come out just a little bit with those. And there's kind of two parts I'm thinking to this this section, and the first part is getting the big major fills in, you know, on those, and so that's kind of a deal. And I think with this too, I'm going to just put a little bit of a dark line right there too, a dark mark. And so then that's the wood. And then the second part that I was thinking about, maybe even using a smaller brush, the filter that I used when I created this reference photo, I took it into Photoshop. I used a filter, it's called Poster Edges, and it gets these little teeny things here, these little teeny dashes and pointillistic sort of marks on there. And so we don't have to do all of them, but you can put a little bit more I don't know, texture, surface, as these pieces transfer a little bit. I think it'll make it a better overall painting when you have these little teeny marks as well. And this is just the tip of the brush. And I'm just trying to go along in the same direction. The grain of the wood is what I'm trying to bring out a little bit with that. And so that's kind of the second part of some of the applications we have here. The first one, like I said, is probably your just the big puddle, the big shape, and but then you can come back and do some little finite details to try and bring things out a little bit more. You know, maybe bringing this along the edge here for a little longer is going to define that edge and make it a little bit more sharper, a little bit more clean. Things like that as we work those. So this one just has real fine grain on it, The other one, the next board up, is a little bit more of a defined grain on it. I'm not going to take it all the way into here, I don't think, on that. I could put some lighter dots on there, but just to add a little bit of detail. Remember, it's dark details that we have in watercolor painting, and then in like oils, acrylics, we have white details on that, with just a little bit of a different approach. Okay. Just so you can kind of see what the possibilities are and what's going to happen on that second thing. So, you know, maybe something like that. I think that's a good little bit for our details. And then if you really want, you know, let's come back here again. This is that light, or that dark gray. We did a little in here. You know, you could just come back in and put second coats in here or something, you know. So it's not the black, the heavy black. It could be just a little bit more of a tiny little detail part here with that gray. And to get some of the texture in through here. And that's going to combine it, make it a little bit more unified on what we're doing. So the little dots, I guess, is the last little part. So that section's kind of pretty cool. That's done fairly well with those. Let's come back. Let's go in and hit this next section of wood here as I'm looking at it, and that's this little part in through here. And there's lots of little parts. I'm gonna once again define the back of the owl here with this black, and this is black next to black. So the owl's back is black, and then the wood this is the black part of the wood too. And then we're just going to fill that puddle in a little bit. Like that. And maybe come in here and fill in some of these little areas. With the black. And then once you get those details filled in, it will probably start to look more three-dimensional, a little bit more realistic. And let's see, this is actually a pretty big area of dark. I don't know if I really want that big of an area of dark. Okay, so that was kind of there. Looks like I have here, looks like I have that piece there. Okay. Go. And there's some solid fill areas here, I guess. We could work with our solid fills first, and then you, like I said, you can come back in and put some, maybe some of those littler, smaller detail portions in. And this part back here is mostly dark, which is good because it contrasts with the lighter part of the owl. This is like there's a knot in the wood right here. Sometimes it is a little easier to put the dark in because it covers pretty well. And this section, this part will probably take just a little bit longer as well, as far as things going. So I may just do some of this, finish this part up here. We'll take a step back and we'll look at it, and then we'll kind of see where it is on that and see how it looks. And then I may, I think there's a version where I can make a speeded up version, I guess, a time lapse sort of a thing. I'll see if it's in there. If it's not, then I'll just do this in sections, so it doesn't become, you know, an hour-long video just watching me paint. Not too exciting doing that. So let me just finish up this little piece of knotted wood here. I want to make sure to leave my dark and my light grays and all those other little pieces that I put in through here. That's coming along pretty well. I had Mr. Himley in here just a moment ago, and was telling him I needed to do this painting, and that it's going to have some black in here. He says, "What, you mean that's not dark enough?" And I'm like, he was joking with me a little bit, and it's like no, it needs to go dark. You need to have a black. Dark gray, as cool as it is not black. And we needed to have a dark gray and a black in this particular painting, as well as that light gray coming together as well. Well, how's that looking? I think that's starting to look pretty good. Kind of liking that. Move that down over like that. The nice thing about the wood, it's easier than the owl itself, because, you know, if you're off a little bit on the wood, nobody's going to notice, you know. So that's kind of a cool thing. Built-in room for error, right? Now, let's come back up here a little bit more now. Get some of this in. And then I'm going to put in a little bit of maybe some of the little detail-y sections on this knotted piece of wood right here. Little thin area right there. That's pretty cool. And then this piece. Right through there. That is a gray. This is still a black. Okay, so now maybe we come in here like this, and we're trying to show maybe some of the more the swirl aspects of this knotted piece of wood, and even some of the tiny marks. So we have large marks, we have medium-sized marks, and then there are some of these tinier marks that are on here. Maybe facilitate, make it look more like a grain sort of a thing. So it's kind of swirling in this direction here. And let's do another one here to help that. Maybe even another little piece here. Between dots, little dashes, that sort of a thing. And now it's starting to look like a little bit of a wood grain, huh? Since I got the little tiny details in there, huh? Yeah, I agree. Keep it up, Mr. White. You're doing good. Thanks, I appreciate it. Trying to. There's nobody here to talk to, so I gotta talk to somebody, right? Even if it is just myself. Maybe baby, we can get just a little bit here, so it kind of has that overall feel to it that I'm looking for, like that. That's pretty cool, huh? So now we have the swirly part of the grain. Let's go ahead and pull back. Let's see the whole effect on that. So you can see, just if I do this here and we start to cover it like we had, all of a sudden that detail starts to come out a little bit more, and it makes the other parts look have like there's much more depth to it in what we're doing. I'm going to continue on around and try and finish up some of these things and see how it goes on that, and see what I come up with at the very end with the things. And so that's kind of the first installment of just this area, you know, that I've done. Now, one that's taken me about 10-15 minutes to work on, and so it's going to take a little bit of time to finish it. Like I said, the last part, the details always take the longest on things. So that's where we are. I'm going to continue on there, see if I can get you another recording of that recorded stuff for us. So I think that's about it. Thanks. Have some fun with it. Get those black levels in there and ready to go.